Hey, what's going on, everybody? Today is January 8th, 2025, and this is the Daily AI Show. Thanks for joining us. If you're joining us live, we are here every day, weekday at 10 a.m. So you can always join the conversation if you like over on YouTube and join the chat. We always have tons of people commenting in there, and we always appreciate it. I have Beth, Andy, and I'm Brian. And today is all about the news. So what we like to do on our Wednesday show is look back over the last 7 days and really dig into not just all the news story. There's some news AI stories that get a lot of splash, but we don't personally feel are very interesting. And then there's news stories that we think sometimes are a little bit smaller, maybe don't make the headlines, but actually we think are going to have big impacts in 2025 and beyond. So the cool thing about the show is that we don't know what the others are going to bring. So I don't know what Beth or Andy is going to say and what news stories. Sometimes they overlap. More times than not, I would say they don't. So I think it's always a fun show to sort of follow along with us. If you have news stories of your own that you think are interesting, by all means, throw them in the chat and they may make them right into the show. So with that, I do have one, like, just to kind of kick it off, but it's a small one, but just interesting more than anything else. And that Sam Altman posted on X. This would be, what is today? 3 days ago. He said, insane thing. We are currently losing money on OpenAI Pro subscriptions. If you remember, that's the one that costs, what, $200 a month? People use it much more than we expected. And I just think that's it's more of a tidbit than anything. I don't know that's like a huge news story or anything, but I just thought it was quick to start off with. Just this idea that, when it came out and people are like, oh, I don't know if I would pay 200. Well, clearly they figured out what people might want out of a $200 subscription. And then those people, whoever they are, it's not like he's saying there's a million people using this subscription, but the people who are using the $200 subscription, they're losing money on. So I think it's just interesting because there was that whole thing about, like, who would pay for this? Clearly people are, and they're using it to as much as they can, extract out of it, as they should. So I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on that, but I thought it was an interesting sort of news tidbit.
And isn't there an expectation that there's going to be a $2,000 a month level of subscription that's going to be used by the most intensive?
Was that ever confirmed? I know I've heard that, but I don't remember why I heard that. So is that was that just a rumor, or was that a confirmed thing?
No, I think it was in effect, a reference to what O3 will probably cost. Back then, but I don't have a direct reference for it either. Maybe somebody in the chat will be able to look it up. And
so it's interesting. Go ahead, Beth. Sorry.
The CFO, and I'm sorry I don't remember her name, mentioned at an event, right? So it's like, it's not hearsay, but it was not like an announcement that was at a press conference. Mentioned at an event that they were exploring use cases for value. Right? What is the value that you're getting out of this? And it could be, a couple $1,000 a month if that was a return.
Here's the thing. I think, this is not like, we'll move on to other news, but just, my take on this is $20 a month, $200 a month, $2,000 a month, $20,000 a month. There's going to be people that fall into all those categories for really, really good reasons. If you're a 3-person company and there's some $20,000 a month option that gives you the benefit of 20 employees, it 20x's your staff, right? There's somebody's going to think that's a really good.
Out. Yeah,
somebody's going to make.
I did the fast math in my head, and well, the cost at the annual cost of a full-time employee, that penciled out.
For sure, right? I mean, $240,000 would be. I mean, look, I'd love to be making $240,000. That's a high paying if you just took that $20,000 and extrapolated 12 months. But yeah, I mean, it proves the point that, like, I mean, it's easy to knee jerk react as a lot of people did, and we talked about it. Not that we did it per se, about, oh my God, $200 a month. But that's because you may not just be in that position to see the value of that. And what I love about this sort of quick tidbit from Sam is that, yeah, by the way, I don't know how many. He didn't say how many people are paying 200, but for those that are, they're finding value clearly because they're actually running the system more than, they're losing money on it or whatever. Well, so just interesting more than anything else.
I just want to say that if that the models that I see, the main models that I can pull down, are all limited, right? So 4.0 is limited to 80 messages within a 3-hour period. and the O1 models are limited to 50. O1 full fat is 50 a week, and O1 mini is 50 for a day, 24-hour period. So if you're someone who uses a bunch and you like the idea that you could do unlimited stuff, they have not given an option in Plus that you can't. There are no models that we're using that don't have limits on them unless they've expanded something, and I couldn't find the info because I did it the other day.
I mean, don't tell them. But I would pay more per month for more limit. I mean, I've run up against the 3-hour limit, and it sucks because you're usually right in the thick of discovering something new. Like you're right there, and it's like, well, pause. And of course, I just move over to other accounts that I have and stuff like that. But it would, right. I wouldn't. Again, let's not spread this too far to Sam, but I would pay a little bit more than I'm paying right now.
Are we breaking news that you are a pro 200 a month user?
Yeah, I wish. Yeah, I wish. Know. Yeah, I mean, look, because it's more O1, and that's more of what I think you get there. And I'm just not a huge O1 user. Not that I don't think it's amazing. It just doesn't necessarily fit. But just extract O1 and make it $200. But instead of O1, it's some advanced version of custom GPTs. Yep. I would immediately go to my employee and go, this is my boss, Jake, and go, hey, this is what I think I can build off of this. This is how much faster the productivity is going to be. I think it's a really easy answer for him to go, yeah, I mean, there's no reason why we're not going to try that. He may say, let's try that on a 90-day trial, but sure, why not? I think I could probably easily, if it was a super advanced, like custom GPT, something, for $200 a month, I think I'd blow past that in productivity and return on investment for scaled. Easily. So yeah, that's a good point. All right, let's get on to other stories because I just meant that to be a short one and we sort of stuck on it. But what are your guys' big stories? And also welcome to Karl who just joined us as well. But Andy or Beth, what is your big first story you want to share today?
Go Beth.
I pick eeny, meeny, miny, mo. I'm going to go with Andy.
Okay, so I'm going to start off with Google's DeepMind hiring into a new world simulator division that's going to compete with Nvidia's Cosmos platform, which is a world modeling thing that's aligned with robotics, and also with what's the name of the other one? World Labs, which is Fei Li's startup. She left. Help me again. Tell me where she left from. But one of the most impressive minds in AI is starting up a company, has started up a company that's working on world simulation. Why? Because robotics. Why? Because training environments that can accelerate AGI. So DeepMind, Google's research division, in effect, which was combined with Google Brain, a while back, and is the center of their advanced research in AI. They're working on a project, and they hired the person in who ran OpenAI Sora. Why is that relevant? Well, because world simulation is like video world simulation, right? So the same things that generate hyper-realistic videos are the model and chip developments that will power these world simulators. So let me just read a quick quote here. We believe scaling pre-training on video and multimodal data is on the critical path to artificial general intelligence. And we've heard this before when some major voice in AI said, it's not possible to reach AGI until you have embodied AI. It has to understand. Who was that?
Jan LeCun.
Yes, Jan LeCun. Okay, so now they're doing it, right? So they say, okay, Jan, we're going to do this now. And then also, world models will power numerous domains such as visual reasoning, simulation, planning for embodied agents. And that's the first time I've heard that term, embodied agents, and real-time interactive entertainment, because humanoid robots are not going to be that effective if they're kind of monotonic, robotic, as we might say, actors. They're going to be agentic, and they're going to have close to AGI, agentic. So embodied agents, and this whole initiative is like that.
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of, Jensen Huang in his CES keynote brought out, I think 10 humanoid robots and talked about the next stages of Project Groot, which is their embodied robotics thing. There's lots more that he announced at CES, and I did not expect to do this in the thing, so I don't have it up in front of me. Does anybody else have that story? I'm sure we're going to do a show on it, but he announced like a new consumer chip. He announced a new.
I got some details on that. Yeah.
Cool.
There was a lot of Nvidia announcements.
Yeah. So there's a lot of buzz about Jensen Huang's keynote at CES.
Yeah.
Because it's showing a very expansive view of the future of AI and robotics, and Nvidia's central place in all of that, ranging from enterprise to consumer, right? Everywhere along the market spectrum and everywhere along the sort of the system stack that's involved with AI. So exciting announcement that he made is placing a $3,000 AI supercomputer on the desks of every data scientist, AI researcher, and student.
Yeah.
Yep.
Empowering them to engage and shape the age of AI. So that's their project digits. It's a GB10 super chip that's 1,000 times more powerful than the average laptop. And it looks like a Mac Mini.
And yeah, I was going to say $3,000 is like what, an entry level Mac. So, that's a good deal, So, I would go. I mean, if I needed a computer, I'd be like, hey, I'm doing all right, actually.
Yeah. So one of the key announcements is that they're getting into home computers now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, they kind of were, right? We saw what's the starts with a J. The one that's like we were comparing to the Raspberry Pi, the $250.
The Jetson Nano.
Yeah, the Jensen Nano, which is not a home computer per se, but like the same kind of idea of working towards that.
Well, Nvidia is already in home computers massively, right?
Yeah,
With their GPUs.
Literally in mine right now.
The graphics on your machine is an Nvidia processor typically, or an AMD or Ryzen or whatever. But they also announced a new Blackwell GPU family. So they did the Blackwell AI chip. Well, that's a massive data center training chip. Well, they also are releasing the same kind of Blackwell AI architecture for a GPU. Now, that's $2,000 just for your graphics processor, if you want to add it to your computer. It's the world's fastest GPU, outperforming its prior fastest GPU by 2 times.
Right. But they in the demo, and it was part of the beginning part of his keynote in the demo, because I only watched I don't know, first 20 minutes or something. I was like, "Ooh, we should go live. Ooh, it's 10 o'clock on the East Coast. No, we should not." Or whatever time it was. But it with the new chip and like mega memory, you're almost getting cinematic realism for the games. And the other thing that I thought they did that was really interesting was show what 16 megabytes look like. Like you can still move through, you just get less detail. And he talked about the rendering that they're doing, which is their like technology is ray casting as they're moving through environments. And so they're only rendering, I think, 2 maybe pixels. We will do a show on whatever he announced, but they're able to infer an enormous amount from just a little bit of information. I mean, it's basically like what animation saw when you could just do keyframes and it would onion skin for you, as opposed to having to draw those or find those. That's basically what he was alluding to in terms of moving through the game.
Yeah, I think you're right in saying that we should do a whole show on the NVIDIA announcements, because like just looking as I look at some of my resources and stuff like that, there's like 9 lines that are all individual announcements from NVIDIA.
Yeah.
And I mean, they're all very, very cool in their own right, but they probably should like be, we can talk about the highlights today, but I do feel like they should be their own show, because like we can get into the robot stuff, we can get into the chip side stuff or whatever. And I think, to your point, Andy, what I like about that show idea is just that Nvidia isn't just the gaming processor in the graphics processor in my laptop. I mean, I'm pointing down because it's right below the screen, but my laptop that I bought just recently, and the one previous to that, and the one previous to that, I went out of my way to make sure that they had Nvidia graphics processors in it. I just prefer them. I think the performance is top notch. And if you remember, Nvidia was already putting out AI like sort of enhancements directly on your laptop or your computer as it was. If you remember, Nvidia, before like a lot of this stuff blew up, they were the ones that did the constant eye contact, where even if I was looking down at you guys on the screen, it looked like I was looking up at you at the camera like this. And even if I looked down again, it moved my eyes live. And I used to use that on calls and stuff like that, or like with internally or whatever. And people were like, dude, that's almost creepy, because like you're able to lock in eye contact. So I turned it off. It was quite literally a switch inside a software that Nvidia shipped for free, by the way. And so I used Nvidia's enhancements until I upgraded my computer. I used the software Nvidia enhancements on all my calls because it made everything better to a point, and then it was just better to upgrade the actual hardware, and stuff like that. But anyway, I just wanted to bring that up. Also, just real quick, does anyone remember, like, what was it, a little over a year ago, maybe more than that now, before Nvidia blew up, and Jensen Huang, who nobody knew that name, and he sat on a stage or whatever, and he was just humbly saying like, yeah, I hope some people will follow me. I have like 100 followers on TikTok or something like that. And he's like, I don't know, maybe follow me. I put out some good stuff or whatever. It was like the most humble, like, I'm just the guy, I'm a CEO, whatever. And I found it really, really, like, to think about him now, and now he's doing these CES major announcements, and his name is up there with the Zuckerbergs and other things like that. I just think, like, what a far travel for him, and how impressive for Nvidia that they appear to have the right CEO in place to go through that transition. Yesterday we were talking about Sam Altman. He was saying in his blog how difficult of a year, and it was like doing 10 years at any other company, he was doing in 2. And there's a lot of truth to that. But look at Nvidia, look at what they have gone through and everything else. And to have a CEO who still seems to be shipping, not him personally, but the company, and still writing that ship, I think is really impressive, because they could have absolutely imploded under their own weight and growth. They could have just imploded. A lot of companies can't handle that kind of growth that fast.
One thing, if you're a gamer, you kind of knew who Jensen was, though. Like, if you are deep into, because
nobody's a gamer.
Literally, right?
Because I'm not, so I just thought I'd throw that out there. Karl's like, me, this guy right here.
It was always been like, it was Nvidia. Then you'd like look at Radeon, like just how you built essentially how you built your computer to run what originally was for me Counter-Strike, but then all the COD folks, every year you just have to upgrade and upgrade and upgrade. But you knew who all the folks were, and he's been there for like 3 decades. So it hasn't. He's been there for a very long time, and I still think of Nvidia not as the AI. Like, my brain still is like, it's a gaming, like,
absolutely
more on gaming than
you thought of them as.
Well, the important thing is that AI and gaming are kind of intersecting now, and clearly in my mind, in a way that, I saw that, high-speed computing for gaming was powering AI, but no, AI and AGI depend on the skills of the gaming developers in world building. And that's what that first thing I was talking about is so pointing out to me, that now Nvidia is uniquely well positioned, not only on the hardware side, but also in their connections and in the network of relationships they have in the gaming industries to develop world models. And they have the Cosmos Nematron model family that is designed especially now for agentic AI applications.
Yeah.
And then just add on to it the robotic controllers that he showed in his keynote as well. Oh, here's the little one that can handle, I think it's Jensen Thor. That is the little computer that's going to go in the humanoid robot, and it can handle not only the thinking part of the robot's planned actions, but also the maneuvering and manipulation of all of the parts of the robot as well, simultaneously. So there's really, really powerful futuristic things coming out of Jensen's mind and his team.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, anybody that I was just gonna say, like, anybody knows like the volume, if you know what that means when I say the volume, like it's the almost 360, it's like 270 degree where they shoot like the Mandalorian or whatever. It's literally like a stage, but it's completely surrounded by screens, and the ceiling is screened. And the point to it that I'm bringing this up for Nvidia is when they point the camera, they don't have to digitally go in with green screen and put in what the reflection off the Mandalorian's helmet should look like for sunset. There's literally a sunset reflecting off the helmet because of the volume. This is what they call the space. But my point to that is they've been using, gaming engines have been running the ability to do that. It's called like parallax, I think, when they move the camera and it puts things in focus correctly. So, and it's only ever fully rendering in 8K, whatever is inside the shot, and everything else is like sub-rendered. So as the camera moves and they're shooting on that stage in this volume, that's all. I don't want to say Nvidia solely, but that's run. I mean, the music, the movie industry and stuff like that leans so heavily on the gaming industry, obviously, and what has come out of there as far as technology. And obviously Nvidia, like to your point, is such a huge part of that. Okay. I cut somebody off. I didn't mean to. If something else to say on it, we can, but otherwise we should probably move on to other stories here.
Karl, go.
I saw on the Neuron a story that says that Meta's newest advertising strategy, using your face to advertise to yourself. So
yes,
it was according to a Reddit user reported seeing their AI edited selfie repurposed in Instagram ads, creating what they call an endless room of mirror effect. So I don't know, because I was actually on Reddit to see what that was, and the comments are hilarious, but like can you imagine yourself advertising to yourself? You're like, what? And whether you don't agree with, like, even if you don't approve it, it would just be kind of funny. You'd be like,
well, I hope that my AI salesman goes, now, Andy, do you really need this?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. No, it'll most likely, Andy, you definitely need this.
Yeah.
Because if you work with this, you need this.
I doubt it'll say, I'm blocking you for 10 minutes so you can deeply think about whether you need this impulse buy. I'll come back to you in 10 minutes and see if you need it.
But this is one of those things where, like, so Jensen Huang made really great moves because he listened to the people who use his equipment. He listened to gamers. What do gamers want? What are their pain points? Who is saying, wow, my pain point is that I don't trust any of the things because I only trust my own recommendation to myself, and therefore I should get it in AI while I'm just like, what is the rationale?
In the voice of Jensen Huang. So I'm going to put my own face, but in a different voice too. So I want that capability. So I want to make it really crazy. No, because the funny thing about this is it comes on the heels of them putting out AI, like fake AI profiles, and then taking it back. And so I was like, so the whole joke, like the whole thing is there's no more social in social media. It's just media, right? So now it's like, there's no social if you got a bunch of AI like things you're interacting with. Because I don't know about you, because if you actually go on WhatsApp or the last time I was looking at WhatsApp and the little, the Meta button was there. So like, okay, I pressed it. And then you can actually choose the voice you want this thing to interact with you with, right? Mm-hmm. But it's character voices. So it's like Keenan Peele.
Yeah.
I was like, who was it? Oh, John Cena was on there. I was like,
right?
What?
Yeah.
I was like, what? And all these other models have like, really just ambiguous names. But I was like, do I want these people talking to me or not? I don't know if I want that.
Yeah.
But really, I don't know if I want an advertising
versus Juniper or
Yes.
whatever
Rose or Alloy or whatever the name is, right? So,
Well, you bring up, and you guys are talking about Meta, so let's talk about Meta, because they have been in the news for a couple different reasons. One is with the one you mentioned, Karl. There was this big thing about, soon there's going to be 1 million AI avatars on Facebook and Instagram, and they're going to interact, and they're going to have profiles, and that got a lot of backlash. And then it seemed to be rolled back very, very quickly. Now, I don't know how many were actually deployed. I heard or read news stories about people saying they did interact, in fact, with they saw it, they looked at the profile. I mean, I don't use Instagram almost ever, but I do use Facebook pretty frequently. I've mentioned I use the groups part of Facebook quite a bit. And so I do see the feed on daily, and if I did, I didn't notice it or whatever. So there was that. And then I think maybe they even superseded themselves yesterday with their news. And I know, Beth, maybe you were going to talk about this, so please pick it up if you'd like. But the news about Mark Zuckerberg put out a 6-minute video yesterday talking all about basically DE&I, and then talking about moving people out of California. Anyway, take it, Beth. Go with it.
He talked about the main thing that I heard him talk about in that was stopping fact checking. So they're pivoting to what Twitter does, X does. So they're having community notes, but there will no longer be an AI fact checker. And Go Politics, right? Was part of what he's talking about. And because they're not fact checking, now you're it's much harder to identify misinformation in that context than he was saying that the reason that they're doing it is because fact checking has false positives, right? So there are problems because it's really hard to get an automation or an AI fact checking correct. But I don't know many systems that are like, wow, we should be doing what X did. Right, like that's an excellent experience for all the participants on that platform. So that was the big thing that I saw, and it's a challenge, and I think we're moving toward that. Right, we're moving toward companies taking AI as an excuse to sort of move to something that they're interested in, or something that they don't want to do anymore, right? Like I'm not sure. So that was my sense of that. I want to bring on a comment from Gareth, which is about showing the real human face. Imagine getting stopped on the street by someone and they're saying, hey, you're the guy on the Instagram ad, which brings up a whole bunch of things. Like, are they?
Exactly. It's all well and good. So you're the person that's promoting the Depends or whatever it is. And you're like, did I approve that avatar, use case? And that's how people are recognizing you or whatever. I do want to kind of come back to the Meta, because I think it's a Andy, I'm actually interested to hear your opinion on this too. I will say this. I listened to what Mark was saying, and I will say this. I support it actually in a wait and see fashion. This is just my opinion. I don't really have a knee-jerk reaction to it. I read into the comments, of which, if Mark Zuckerberg posts something, there's like 4 billion comments underneath it. There's always you're doing great, sir, whatever, that are just sort of random from some other part of the world. And then there's people who are like, I'm deleting the account right now. And then, of course, there's plenty of people who are much more, thank you for protecting free speech, so on and so forth, right? So it's definitely a divisive thing. But I definitely have seen, and I definitely understand how the pendulum has swung in some instances. We see this in education as well, and at universities, with some of the rules and regulations that went in as far as DEI. And I feel like this is just the pendulum swinging back a little bit. That's not to say, and I don't want anybody to take this out of context and say like, oh, Brian doesn't think, DEI or is important. Or of course I do. But also, if what he is saying is true, I'm just taking him at face value, what he's actually saying, that it was limiting too much free speech, and that through these efforts, they felt like they were censoring more people than they would like. And he even said it like, I feel like that's what you were asking for, and now I feel like you're asking for something different. He also mentioned upcoming President Trump and how he's looking forward to working. And of course, that triggered people both ways, clearly, you know. And so I'm a kind of wait and see on it. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I'm sure they have their own political and other motivations for it. But I kind of like, yeah, I don't know. I think maybe this is the right move, but also it may fail. I don't know. That's kind of where I'm at right now, but I'd be curious to hear what you guys think on this, because I know it made a lot of news, and the big thing is that fact checking is gone. And I don't know that's exactly what he said. They just said they're going about it a different way. He also talked a lot about like really illegal content, sex trafficking, things that don't, that absolutely shouldn't be on there. We're going to be, more attention was going to be made sure that those types of illegal activities stay off the platform. So yeah, that is still fact checking. But anyway.
So for any of us who are on X, I think you want to take a look at, and I think Beth, you're on a lot too. And I think when you go on there, you really have to be, hey, you got to have a critical mind, and understanding like what is a take, what is a fact, and double, triple check what people say. Right. I go on there a lot for sports. So to me, Adam Schefter, Ian Rappaport are the two people that you kind of look at, and a couple other folks too, some beat reporters and whatnot. But when you start delving into the politics, I actually said delve in there.
So I heard you. I thought for a second maybe you were not.
So everyone just got triggered. Like, wait a minute.
Fact check you. Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Karl is real.
When you go into some of that, you're like, yeah, you have to be very careful. So I'm curious to see if that happens in Facebook and Threads, because I can assume if you do it in Facebook, then it's gonna happen in Threads, like on the same company, right? So it would have to be the same thing.
Facebook, Threads, Insta, right?
Yeah. So I'm curious to see what would be now. Opposite to you, Brad, I don't normally spend time on Facebook at all, so I don't know what posts are there. And like how it's evolved over, I don't know, years. So I'm just not sure. In fact, I don't spend too much time on Instagram. I'm mostly spending time on either YouTube or TikTok.
Yeah.
That's usually it, and LinkedIn. So yeah, I'm curious to see how that impacts like what people are seeing. And that, but just like everybody else here, you have to be more discerning. You have to be more critical on every single thing, and not really be, oh, this is triggering me, I gotta respond. I was like, wait a minute, I don't know if that's even real. So you just, everyone's just gonna stop.
Here's my hack for Facebook. I'll just say it real quick. Facebook. If you want to hack for Facebook, you're on there or whatever, and it's pissing you off that you don't like the feed, the general feed when you get on. Click on your little face in the bottom right. I'm talking about on your phone, on the bottom right, and then click on feeds. And then you can subsect into just show me the stuff from my groups, from my friends and family, from my interests, from my favorites. If you want to immediately change the output of what you're getting in Facebook, and you feel like the feed is getting out of control, of all sales or all media, whatever, not the social side of it, click on your little face icon, and then click on feeds, and that immediately changes the output of what you get in the algorithm, because it's now focused and filtered to a certain level on it. I'm not saying it's great. I'm just saying that's immediately the 1-2 process I do the minute I turn on Facebook.
I want to piggyback on that and say that, like, and this is, I don't know if it's a mini rant, but it's more of, hey, if you want, because I've talked to a lot of people, just in my close circles, and they're like, well, I got, this guy said this, and I was like, some dude on whatever platform is triggering you that you don't know, that had an opinion that you don't agree with. It's like, that doesn't make any sense. So you could mute the person, like on X, you mute the person.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people's mental anguish could be resolved by muting people that you just get mad at every day. You're like, but why would you pay attention to this person whether it's, for like one of the talking heads, sports talking heads, one of your whatever it is, but like that person keeps coming up in your face, like just mute the person. That's it. And you will be 100 times happier, and you don't have to fight the battle that you're annoyed at for 10, 15, 20 minutes. Just ruins your day because of what
Do you know how many times I've frozen a friend or a family on Facebook? There's a freeze for 30 days. Sometimes you just need to take a 30-day break from people. It's not that I don't love them. It's not that I still don't want to, I don't care about their friends or family or what their kids are doing, which is, let's be honest, that's a lot of what I see and follow is like, hey, how are your kids doing? Because they're usually around my kids' age, and I care about that stuff. Where are they going to college? These are the things that are happening in my life now. But you're right. You're totally in control of it, and they're living rent free in your head. Why? Why? You have more control over it. You can say, I don't like these ads. You can say, I don't want to see this person anymore in my feed. Instead of just being like, well, it's all out of control. It seems silly to me.
And let me jump in here just to provide a different point of view. And that is, Karl, you're saying, hey, here's my advice. You take action using critical thinking to evaluate the desirability of what somebody's saying. Well, you're asking for something that doesn't exist broadly. There is not critical thinking available in the broad population. Unfortunately, there's just not enough educational background and training in critical thinking, which is an important step. To have that as the litmus test of whether something is incorrect or not. Don't put that responsibility on the person who doesn't have the skills to do it. AI fact checking should be a major campaign out there, in my view, to replace the requirement that we ask people with little knowledge and less practice in critical thinking to be the arbiters of whether something's false or not. So our whole media system is corrupting the collective understanding of the reality of the world, in my view. And that because there's so much garbage out there, and it's presented in convincing ways. Convincing because the premises, though false, are accepted in the presentation. So anyway, I have trouble with that, and I want to make sure that there's a clear distinction between fact checking and the importance of veracity in the media, which I enjoyed, I think, when I was a young person, and there was an obligation on the part of journalists to fact check and correct. That's no longer there. That's like, okay, we're not going to fact check anymore. We're not going to correct anybody anymore. Okay, so now you have to figure it out yourself. You have to do your own research. That's one domain. And then the other one is diversity, equity, and inclusion. That was, in my view, a systemic approach to trying to correct systemic marginalization of very small minority groups. And getting rid of DEI is really just systemically eliminating any possibility of correction of what have been systemic biases in our economy and in our society that have marginalized and penalized groups for different behaviors or different points of view that just don't conform to the politically correct current view. Now, then I can rant for a while on Meta and Zuckerberg and all the other people who are now pandering to the current apparent politically correct view, which is no DEI. Anyway, I'm going down a rat hole here. Yeah. So, and they're responding to that. So I'm frustrated by the whole progression here because I do not see it as progressive.
So going back to kind of the AI, I'm going to steer away from the DEI because I spent too many years at Benevity. Like that is a very quagmire. I don't even want to. We can have that discussion like later on. But I think like from an AI perspective, when we have platforms now that I would say X would be, wouldn't you all agree, would be the ground zero of AI news, like things are being announced, released, takes all that stuff, goes there first, then kind of distributes to the other platforms shortly thereafter. But that's usually ground zero.
Yeah.
So if you have that, and then you have, I don't know, the type of filtering, the type of critical thinking you need in there. I think what I was just talking about more so was, I'll give you an example. This one beat reporter had the worst takes of the 49ers. And again, like, it had nothing to do with me. I don't control the team. But I cheer for the team, you know. But you get the takes and you're so angry at it. You're like, it just triggers you. This is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. And then the second mistake I did was you go into the comments and then you see people agreeing with the comments. And what does that make you do? Want to combat the comments. But then you're now in a 5-10 minute period worked up about an issue that really has no impact on you day to day. And when I've talked to some of my friends about that, like, yeah, but it's different topics that they get triggered on, whatever that thing that would annoy you, but that person is still in your feed. So that, I'm just saying, is like, the moment I muted, it's been so much cleaner in the feed. And just people who, even the AI space, people have like, I was like, that's the most ridiculous thing. The moment you mute, you don't hear that constant ridiculous, but you could go too far in that you kind of create your own echo chamber too. So which, from a critical thinking, you want to have that other perspective, but then you have to discern it and be like, that's just stupid. Like, I'm not going to be triggering myself day in, day out, like, just for that. And it's mostly for 49ers news. Like, that's really that was it. Everything else, and not really, that was the source of my triggering and getting mad.
Well, let's move on to with what the time we have left here. Let's see if we can knock out a few more news stories that maybe aren't as bigger conversations. One that I wanted to share really quick was that Anthropic reaches deal with music publishers over lyric dispute. So we've seen quite a few different lawsuits against some of these model creators such as ChatGPT and so on and so forth. And so they reached an agreement. It was signed off by a district judge on Thursday, requiring Anthropic to apply existing guardrails to the training of future AI models and to establish a procedure for music publishers to intervene when copyright infringement is suspected. And this comes back from actually October 2023, when a whole bunch of different people were saying songs like Halo or Uptown Funk or Moves Like Jagger were bringing some, if not a significant amount of the lyrics directly into the chat threads. Anthropic responded by basically saying, look, Claude isn't designed to be used for copyright infringement, and we have numerous processes in place designed to prevent such infringement. Our decision to enter into this stipulation is consistent with those priorities. We continue to look forward to showing that, consistent with the existing copyright law, using potentially copyrighted material in the training of generative AI models is a quintessential fair use. So agreement, but also saying we didn't really do anything wrong and these lyrics are already out there, and that's fair use for our training models. But that's where that landed. So I think we're going to see a bit of these. Typically, these do seem to end without like huge money transfers. A lot of times on the news side, we'll see like New York Times is suing OpenAI, but also they want to strike a deal with OpenAI, right, for publishing rights and things like that, and copyright rights. So I feel like this is sort of in that same vein, but interesting nonetheless that something from October 2023 just got resolved.
I can weave on Anthropic there. Panasonic and Anthropic have developed a new partnership. This was just announced. And Panasonic is trying to kind of reinvent itself to be generating 30% of its revenue from AI by 2035, which is a lot of years from now. And that's a small percentage. But Panasonic, one of the most venerable electronics companies, consumer electronics particularly, is out there. And they have a wellness coach built on Anthropic Claude that they're going to launch in the US market sometime middle of this year. And the Anthropic partnership extends to Panasonic as well, where Panasonic offices worldwide and the workforce will be using Claude principally as their go-to AI.
I want to go. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
I don't know how everyone has perspectives on this. I'm curious to see our audience, what they think about the Tesla Cybertruck that blew up outside the Trump Hotel, but that the police say the suspect used ChatGPT to help plan the attack. Interesting. Not sure how that will, if there's going to be any type of fallout or any type of action that's going to be taken from that, but curious to know what you all think about. That seems to be a very local or more close to home type of, hey, this can be used for something like this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, deep reasoning and thinking in 01 models and 03 models can be used for nefarious reasons, for sure.
So, how did that not get flagged in red teaming, right? Like, maybe you just thought that no one was going to be that obvious. Like, hey, so this is my goal. I have this goal. What is the max of, like, whatever it is? I'm not going to speculate.
Yeah.
But we all know, we all know we could just be like, hey, I'm in a play or I'm in a movie, and we're determining like, how would you hypothetically do this in the movie? Oh, I can definitely help you out. So I think that would be, I didn't think that would be hard. And what that person could, the way that you would prompt that, you can do it in so many different ways that would not trigger a guardrail or a, hey, you can't do that, right? It seems a little, that one, you can probably think of different things to even piecemeal it together.
Right. But to the point of the story that we just did, right? Like, you have to go out of your way to try to get, lyrics out of an AI model.
Yeah.
Like, maybe a little less time on that, a little more time on, like, this is the perfect plan for blowing up a Cybertruck. Okay. And my weave is in like mind-blowing news. Let's just go for that. Chinese startup Neurozess, Neuro with a giant XESS, a Chinese startup, has a brain computer interface, so like Neuralink. And it's made two breakthroughs with this. It's announcing it. And the person that they used has epilepsy, and there was a brain lesion which was causing problems. And they could control an arm, like a robotic arm, and some other stuff. Now I was like, I'm missing the place. So there was a system delay of under 60 milliseconds, right? And they could figure out how to map function areas accurately. Oh, that was the other piece. So the implant could do scans or real-time information. And is that a gamma something? So like it allowed the information to go from her brain to whatever analysis system they're using for that. So like you were kind of getting regular scans. It also reports that it achieved a 71% speech decoding accuracy using 142 common Chinese syllables within 5 days. And a single character decoding latency in under 100 milliseconds, right? So this is the highest level of real-time decoding of Chinese speech that's been achieved in China. And it could perform sign language. The robotic arm could grasp an apple and a pear and perform sign language for Happy New Year 2025. Like, there's a lot happening in this space, and we usually only hear about Neuralink. And Neuralink, old news, lost, I think, 90% of its connections. So the science of this is still really new, but this was really interesting. And the fact that they're working with someone with epilepsy is a different path to go down for someone whose brain has been injured. Neuralink, of course, is working with paraplegics and people who who have that kind of mobility challenge. That's my weave as mind-blowing news.
I don't know that I have a weave, but I have one that's just I put it, if you could just throw it up on the screen, because I have big questions for Andy on this one.
All right,
So if you
here
could
we
throw that
go,
up on the
Andy.
screen. Andy,
Halliday.
you're holding out on us. Andy, apparently, without telling the rest of us on the Daily AI Show, has created, glasses. And these, it's deceiving from the picture here, because the picture is showing like there's these circle images being projected on the screens of the glasses, like the Metas or something like that. No, these are projecting the images directly into your eyes. And so you actually can't see it on the actual glasses. And if we scroll down here, they have a little picture, whether it's actual real or not, of somebody talking and they're wearing the glasses. And of course, you can't see that on the screen. So this is a discreet way to get AI information projected straight into your eyeballs. And Andy, I'm just a little shocked you wouldn't tell the rest of us about this.
He may be wearing them now. Andy, I think you're muted.
I think you're on mute.
Is something you want to confess?
What are your glasses telling you?
It's a good thing I was muted. No, I did want to invite you guys to the friends and family round on the Halliday glasses startup. Sorry.
Wow.
Did not have anything
We know
to
where
do
we
with it.
stand now. It does say, by the way, because I was curious where the name came from. It said oh, come on. I just saw it in here. Give me 1 second. Oh, inspired by the visionary character James Halliday from Steven Spielberg's and Ernest Cline's Ready Player One. So didn't realize that name was in the movie as well, but that's where the name comes from.
I didn't either.
But
it's not Jarvis or like
yeah.
Let me just pitch the upcoming CES show. It's probably going to happen sooner than later.
Yeah.
But just by mentioning two things that I found really exciting about announcements beyond Jensen Huang's keynote and everything about Nvidia. One of them is LG is offering an AI TV, an AI powered TV that can upscale old movies. So if you have a low resolution movie and you know that AI can do the interpolation of the image and perfect it and give you an upscale high resolution result, it can do that in real time for old content. So you get a higher res picture than you would get normally. And the other one is all the flexible screens from Samsung. So there are beautiful high resolution full color gamut screens that you can fold and roll up, and they're beautiful. Now we've seen flexible screens before, but this one is sort of featured by an a Lenovo laptop where the screen can roll up to a higher level from the actual screen that's backed by the aluminum case. So the thing rolls up out of a roller inside and becomes a much larger screen, somehow, matching the screen that's already there.
Two things on that, Andy. One is I loved how you pronounced Lenovo. I can't even. Lenovo. I loved how you pronounced that. I was like, I've never.
Lenovo.
Amazing.
It's a Robovan.
And then the second thing is, have you seen the Samsung transparent? Like I think they announced the transparent TV.
Oh yeah.
TVs were announced last year, but there's a lot more of them this year.
I've never seen that before, so I was like, why would I want to see? If I hung it on my wall, all I'm gonna see is a bunch of wires when it's not on. So I was like, I wouldn't put my TV. I don't know how I'd hang it on a window.
I don't think it's for home, honestly. I know they're showing it that way, but truthfully, if you had a business with a storefront, it makes total sense because you'd be able to see through the window, but also project new images. And they were showing this year in different shapes, and it wrapped around like cylinders and things like that had different shapes. And once you start looking at that, and then you look at like trade shows and like things like CES, I think it starts to make huge sense for why you might want see-through projected images where it's still important to see beyond it. Definitely windows of stores. I think that's an easy low-hanging fruit one. But yeah, like, is it really, is it the right move for your home? Probably not for like watching TV, but if you wanted to do interesting art or something like that, I can see it. And
So
then a lot of
it's
them
not a
last
TV,
year too,
it's a
they have
screen.
that. What's that?
Is it more of a screen than an actual TV, or is it a TV?
No, I suppose it's still a TV. I don't really know what the differentiators would be there. I know the ones last year had the roll up black out behind it that made it actually a TV.
A TV,
basically, it made all the darks go to true black, you know?
Yeah.
And made it more of a TV or whatever. But I see it more in the commercial use, and definitely if you're like doing the trade show things or the roll up TVs. To me, or the plug and play, you see the plug and play LCD screens. You can basically add as many as you want, create a full wall TV. Yeah. And you could do it probably in 5 suitcases, like these kind of things.
Yeah.
I see a lot of value there, but you're right. Like, is that going to be somebody's future TV? To your point, like, why would I want to see the wall behind it?
I don't. I'm on your side there, Brenna. I don't get the application for a transparent screen
at home or generally.
Anywhere. You're going to have, as in AR, you're going to have glasses that can project something, and you have visual field that's intact, but superimposition of the generated image. But why would you have a transparent screen in physical space? That part I don't get. It just makes it hard to see what's on the screen, in my view.
It's people with glasses, Brian. We already have a tough time seeing, so now you're adding more things that we have to figure out. Yeah, and it's really difficult.
It's like if you want to do the virtual, you throw up a tank of water, but you don't put any fish in it. And you just slap on 4 sides of a see-through TV, and then you just put virtual fish in it. And then you're just like, I don't know, it's not, in the middle of a restaurant somewhere or something like that. I think there's a lot of interesting like doctor rooms, doctor patient, waiting rooms, interesting applications for this that just aren't watching TV at home. I think they're just a different application.
Now I see the application. I can pretend like I'm watching the TV, but I'm actually looking at the people on the other side of the screen.
That's right. Yeah, voyeurism. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. All right, we're fast approaching the top of the hour here. So, any last is there any news stories that we absolutely didn't cover that need to be covered? I think I'm good on my side. There's tons of CES stuff, but we'll cover that in a different show. Yeah. There's always going to be another AI powered grill or coffee maker or something. There's always 1,000 gadgets we could talk about and whether they really are AI or not. Newsflash, most of them are not AI. They just have the term. But any last news stories real quick? Anybody have a last hit? No? Going once?
No, the chat is lit as always. So I will play the role of Andy today. If you are listening to this and you ever get a chance to come and join us in person, come to the YouTube live stream because that's where the interaction chat is happening. Also, there's a call out for Jumi to come back.
I guess I didn't do such a good job with the news stories. Right, hosting it. On it, I'll try to be better. God. Back to you, I guess.
Nah, I think it's just a missing. Yep.
No, I know.
He'll be back.
Of course, we want Jimmy back. We want Aaron too, whenever he can make it. Gareth put in there sock picker upper. He's not making that up. You should go look that up at a CES. I'll leave you with that. Go look up the sock picker upper. It's a thing. You didn't know you needed it, but it's a thing. So anyway, all right, we'll wrap it up there. Go check out the dailyaishow.com if you want to catch up on any of our previous episodes. Of course, you can do that on YouTube, but the dailyaishow.com is the only place that you can go to sign up for our award-winning newsletter. No, it's not award-winning, but we think it is. We love it, and it's a great place to get a lot more information that goes above and beyond this. We always do deeper insights, by the way, with all of our news stories. So if you want to dig into these news stories deeper, we definitely do that in newsletter. So come check that out. Sign up for it. It's free, and it goes out on Sunday mornings. Until then, we will see you guys tomorrow on Friday, and have a great day. This is fun. Bye, everybody.
Bye.